Town of Prescott Valley Special Town Council meeting, May 29th, call to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Keel.
Present.
Councilmember Freund. Councilmember Greer. Here. Councilmember Schumacher.
Present.
Vice Mayor Searcher.
Here.
Mayor Polguda.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. This is for obviously new business, our appointment for Prescott Valley Town Council. The vacancy needs to be filled, and we welcome everyone this evening. Clerk?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, members of the public. So today we're here to conduct the interviews for the town council vacancy that we have. First of all, I just want to commend these 4 candidates for their participation and interest in their local government. But before we get started, I just wanted to clarify that the appointed term will serve until the next regular council election that we have. Whoever gets appointed tonight may choose to run in the August 2026 election to fulfill the remaining 2 years of the original 4-year term. So just wanted to clarify that. And to get started, here's how the process is going to go for tonight's meeting. All the candidates will have an opportunity to briefly introduce themselves, give their opening statement. They will have up to 2 minutes to respond. Then we will move into the interviews and the questions. There will be a total of 6 predetermined questions. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to respond. At the 30-second mark, I'll ring the bell. Oh, doesn't work. Here. There. There will be no additional or follow-up questions posed. The order of response will be determined randomly by the council. All candidates will respond to the same question before proceeding to the next. Once all the candidates have been interviewed, we will move into an executive session for the council to discuss and further evaluate all the interviews. And instead of vacating, well, as a reminder, executive sessions are not open to the public. but instead of vacating the members of the public, we will have the council move into the Glassford Hill room during the executive session, and then we'll come back to this room. So you are welcome to stay and wait. After that, once we convene back into the regular meeting, the council members will write down on a blank piece of paper that I will provide the name of their nomination. At that point, the town manager and myself will tally all the nominations, and the person with the highest number of nominations will be announced. Then the council will be able to make a motion to appoint that person to the vacancy. So those are the instructions for the town council and the candidates. I also have a request for the members of the public. There is a meeting decorum, okay? I kindly ask and remind all the audience members that this is a formal interview. In order for us to maintain a respectful and focused environment, please refrain from talking, clapping, or making any noise during or after each candidate's response. Please also silence your cell phones. Our goal is to ensure a positive and equitable experience for all candidates. Your understanding and cooperation is greatly appreciated. With that said, we can start with the opening statement. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, the floor is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. And just so we're clear, we look at Mr. Bruce Evans to our left. Is he number 1 or is he number 4?
He's number 1, from left to right.
Gotcha.
Just like that.
And I know the candidate said this has been explained to him, but just so for the audience, each candidate selected a random number on where they sat tonight. So the first question after the opening statement, being number 1, Bruce Evans will go first, then Gary Kyle, then Jennifer Gray, then Kimberly Lopez. Then on the second question, Mr. Kyle will go first, then Jennifer Gray. And that's how we'll do it. So everyone will have an opportunity to go first, and everyone will have an opportunity to go last. So that's how we'll proceed through. All right, and with that being said, Mr. Evans, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Is working? Okay. My name is Bruce Evans. I've been a resident. Is it working?
Can you guys hear that out there? No.
There we go. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Hey, my name is Bruce Evans. I've been a resident of Prescott Valley for almost 6 years. I started out as a Canadian in Newfoundland, did my education in Eastern Canada, and have lived across the U.S. and Canada. I moved to the United States in 1986, became a citizen in 92, and proud of both. My career was mostly in the project finance area, commercial real estate, with a number of foreign banks, including French, Australian, and Canadian. And as I say, most of that was in commercial real estate finance, so that's given me a pretty firm background in the business side of the real estate industry and development, and has just given me a business perspective, I think, in approaching many, many problems. Here in Prescott Valley, I've been involved since 2021. My interest in sort of civic affairs started when our community, Quailwood Meadows, was in opposition to a neighboring development then called PV 540, now a much reduced Parsons Preserve. Following that, I joined the Board of Adjustment, and very shortly after that, the Planning and Zoning Commission, where I was vice chair. I resigned that in February because I thought I was going to be moving away, and that did not happen, but that's a whole nother story. I've been active too in some of the offerings of the town. I've been a participant in the Prescott Valley Citizens Academy, the PVPD Citizens Academy, Yavapai County Citizens Academy. Mostly, we fell in love with Prescott Valley when we moved here. It's a fantastic town. It's not afraid, for example, at council meetings to pledge to the flag and to say a prayer to begin the day. And it's just a wonderful town. I've enjoyed giving back so far, and I want to contribute more and hope that I can become a council member shortly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kyle.
Yeah, my name is Gary Kyle. I'm originally from Southern California. I'm a retired city official. I've served on many boards here at the Stone Ridge, currently about 13 years worth. Kind of a glutton for punishment there. And then also on the DRC since the inception there. I served on your Board of Adjustments for 6 years. And passionate on focusing, I think, coming together with the community and the council and the development all together. I was kind of the go-to guy in California, so I look forward to doing that with this town.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gray.
Good afternoon, evening. My name is Jennifer Gray. My family moved to Prescott Valley in 1975 when I was 2 years old. I am a 1991 graduate of Badger Mountain High School. Shortly after that, I went to work for Yavapai County at the Sheriff's Office and just retired a year and a few months ago after 29 years of service there in finance and accounting. My interests include outdoor activities, hunting, fishing, camping, as well as, financial information and fiscal responsibility. Those are things that I geek out on. So I was hoping to come into Prescott Valley and be a member of the council to kind of return some of the favor that I've received from living here, raising my family here. I raised 3 children in Prescott Valley. All 3 are graduates of Bradshaw Mountain. 2 still currently live here. 1 did move to the Midwest. And I would like to see a future in Prescott Valley where my children and grandchildren can be proud of the community as I was. Never considered myself a big town girl, but growing up and having Prescott Valley grow up around me has just been amazing. I still walk into Harkins and can't believe I'm in Prescott Valley in a giant theater like that. So it's very exciting for me, and public service is something I thoroughly enjoyed. I've done a lot of open meetings with the Board of Supervisors. I think I have the experience in that respect to step right in and get to work.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Lopez.
My name is Kimberly Lopez, and I was born and raised in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I am a transplant. I moved here in 1987, married my husband, and we decided we wanted to move to Prescott Valley and raise our family. I have two daughters and 3 grandchildren. Raising my children has been my biggest career. I've had multiple careers, though. And I have a lot of volunteer work that I do throughout the community. I do find it very hard to talk about all of it, because there is so much. But currently, I am the president of the Prescott Frontier Days Rodeo. I have been doing volunteer work with the rodeo since 2006. I am very active with Vitalent in blood drives. I do those in honor of my husband because at the time of his death, he had almost made 10 gallons of blood donated. So that is very important for me to continue on that. I have worked very closely with the Chamber of Commerce. I was the president of the ambassadors. I also won the Ambassador of the Year Award and Citizen of the Year in 2008 for the town of Prescott Valley. I have sat on the Casa for Kids board, help raising money for the kids that are pulled from their families. Unfortunately, that does happen, but to make sure that those kiddos have everything that they need to go to another location. And my biggest one is the Humboldt Unified School District. I did the $41 million capital B bond, and very proud of the fact that we were able to move the bus barn to its current location and the beautification of Lake Valley, where we removed all of the trailers that the kids were learning in and actually build them an actual school.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll start to my left. Councilwoman Keel, if you lead us off with question number 1.
Question number 1, what motivates you to serve on the town council? What areas would you be most passionate about focusing on?
Mr. Evans, yes.
Part of my motivation for wanting to serve on the town council stems from pretty much the first couple of days that we were living here. We were in a rental house while we were waiting for our house to be built, and our goods were about to be delivered, and we got a notice that there was going to be paving on our street. I called the town office thinking I was just going to get a lot of pushback. And they said, well, we can change the paving schedule to accommodate you so the moving guys aren't tracking asphalt into your house. And I thought to myself, we're not in Los Angeles anymore, Toto. It was a fantastic experience. I said, this is a town that I picked the right place to be. And that's been supported ever since on the various commissions and boards and citizens academies and so forth, dealing with a lot of the town staff on various issues, whether P&Z or before that on the PV 540 committee. It's just a very proactive sort of a town and very small town, very America, if you want. And all that is appealing, and it makes me want to give back and to serve. Two particular areas that I think I'd be passionate about. One is the economic development for obvious reasons with a business background, and I'll say more maybe in answer to another question or two about how I approach problem solving and decision making. So certainly the economic development side. And we don't have to go looking for like General Motors type economic development. I think it can be built brick by brick with small to medium-sized businesses, better diversification, more employment. The other thing that I would be very interested in is, and it sort of comes out of the survey in a way, but sort of an overall quality of life. Because we have that quality now, we're 50-odd thousand people. I don't think we're in danger of losing it right away, but I think the quality of life preserves that wonderful spirit that this town has. So I'd be passionate about that area as well.
Thank you, sir. Kyle?
My turn?
Yes, sir.
I would have to say that the pressing issues right now is the growth, how fast we're growing, and how to work with that. I've seen the low-income housing going in, and my background with that, it's down the road. You might see some issues with that, along with graffiti. It's just part of the nature of that happening. And we, with my background and what we did in theirs, we actually became partners with when they came in with the low-income properties, because after 2 or 3 years, they kind of went downhill. And then after that, we kind of stepped back and went, how can we fix this? So the city, I should say, became partners with the developers and kept them upkeep with fines or inspections or whatever it took to keep them up. And the graffiti, which the place was just terrible at the time, but we decided to ask the courts if somebody tagged something, if we could prove that tagger was part of the gang, we would prosecute the whole gang. That cleaned up about 80% of the graffiti in that town. Focusing on some of the things too would be the children here, what they can do, more game plans, what they could do and what they could focus on and open, like you want to do Glassford Hill over here and that type of thing. I think that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gray?
So my motivation for sitting on the town council, again, comes from my pride in the community that I grew up in and wanting to see that pride grow amongst the community. We started with a small community when I moved here. It wasn't even a town yet. And everybody knew everybody. You went to the softball games, everybody knew. As a child growing up, we didn't get away with a lot because my dad was very well known throughout the community. And it's something that I miss. I miss going to Walmart and not running into multitudes of people that I know. And I know part of that is on me for being, a working adult and not getting out more often. And so I would like to see us have more community events spread out where they happen at. Let people see everything that the community has to offer, because I think more and more people are getting confined to go to work, come home, cook dinner. We hang out at this little park, and maybe they don't know of all the other opportunities that are being provided. Not everything that the town hosts has to happen at the Civic Center. The wildlife expedition that you just did, I understand, was a huge hit, and it was at a different park. So I think it's important that we inform people so that they know what's available, and that we help incorporate everyone into these events so that we build community pride. And one of my passionate topics would definitely be affordable housing so that we can have generational residents within the community.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Lopez?
That's a very loaded question for me. What drives me is the sense of pride that I have for our community. I came here when Prescott Valley was still very small, and it was on the verge of growing and becoming something big, and I believe we're on that verge again. And I want to be part of that process of making Prescott Valley the place to be in Northern Arizona. My family is very invested in the public. We're invested in public safety. I'm very passionate about affordable housing for our teachers, our first responders, our young families. And I do believe we need to build an identity for Prescott Valley. Who are we? And I think with having the wonderful sign that goes across Glassford Hill, I think that's a great step in showing who Prescott Valley is. We need to build on that. I have had the privilege of being part of the Friends of Prescott Valley and seeing some of these new programs that we have been putting into place for the families in Prescott Valley, and I want to build on those because I think we have the opportunity to be something bigger than we are.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilwoman Greer, and just as a reminder, Mr. Kyle, you'll be first up.
How do you perceive the most pressing issues and key opportunities facing Prescott Valley today? And in what ways do you seek to collaborate with the fellow council members to address them?
I see right now, traffic, that's part of it, pressing issues, along with low-income housing. A lot of people, even though we're looking at $1,700 a month, a lot of people can't afford $1,700 a month, plus the younger generation. With that too, and the more parks for the kids and stuff to play in, I think that down the road, this is a growing community, and that's not going to stop. So we need a game plan for that. I see this as a fairly large community down the road. I would meet with each one of you if I was on the council and find out where you're at with the issues and how you think you're going to approach that for fixing that. That's about it.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gray?
Pressing issues for Prescott Valley seems to be growth. Growth spurs a lot of the water conservation issues, the wildlife preservation. All of those things focus around growth. But as Kim said, Prescott Valley, what is our identity? We've grown rapidly, but has anybody stopped to think, who do we want to be when we grow up? And I think we have an excellent opportunity to be the entertainment and industry focal point of the Quad Cities. We've got, the industrial parks, the areas where we can build these warehouses or factories, things like that on the outskirts without disturbing the hometown that we've created in the center. And as far as entertainment, we've got the movie theaters, we've got the event center, but are we fully utilizing those parks and those things that we've developed? And a lot of, making some of that happen is letting the businesses get involved in some of that, have the town encourage some of that by bringing in business owners who can own it, again, build that pride in the community by giving them something that they can call their own. And people can say, hey, so-and-so did this for us and it was awesome. And it just builds that bond and an identity of who we are.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Lopez?
I've actually thought long and hard about a lot of things in Prescott Valley lately, either attending the council meetings in person or watching them online. And we have a lot of common threads, growth and infrastructure. With my work with the rodeo right now, I'm very knee-high eyeball high, really, in infrastructure. So I get it, and I understand that we need to build for 10 years from today, not just for today. We live in Arizona, we're always going to have water issues, but I think that we, again, are on the verge of doing things right for water conservation here in Prescott Valley. Affordable work housing, we hear about it all the time. It's very hard for young families to live anywhere, and so why can't we be that place that they can? We already have a great quality of life. We can build off of that. We need economic diversification. We do have a lot of people that that travel into Prescott or other areas. And to Jennifer's point, we have the opportunity to bring the industrial here, to be able to have those good paying jobs here in our community. And community identity, I've said that already. I think we have a great, I don't want to be the place next to Prescott. I want to be our own identity. So I get sick and tired of that. I get tired of going to the Findlay Toyota Center and hearing people say, thank you, Prescott. Well, hello, we're in Prescott Valley. So I want that identity. We're in a strategic location. We have room to grow, and we actually have a lot of people here who care, and they have that volunteer spirit. So I'd like to try to incorporate them back into what's important for Prescott Valley.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Evans.
For any of you familiar with the movie Finding Forrester, this isn't exactly a soup question, but it's and not susceptible to a 2-minute answer, but I'll do my best. A couple of the most pressing issues are fairly obvious, and one is as rents and home prices continue to go north, although they've maybe peaked a little bit right now, we have to solve the problems of affordable or attainable housing, but we've got to be realistic about it too. There's only so much you can do as a municipality, and a lot of that's going to be cooperation and guidance to state and federal authorities with plans that we put together, but somebody else has to pay for because we simply wouldn't have that capacity. We've also got to critically analyze what's being presented to us. On P&Z, we were presented with a series of developments that were modular housing on leased land. So I took it upon myself to do some investigation of that, and talking to the Chip Davis and also some lenders. I'll save you the details because this is the 2 minutes, but that business model for housing, although it sounds nice if you say it fast, it's right up there with predatory lending, and I have the numbers to prove it. So it's things like that where I think we have to be more proactive and ask questions back when people are proposing things. We've got some incredible natural benefits here in terms of opportunities, and I think we need to expand on those. The open air, the beautiful scenery, the walking trails, all of those natural things that you should take advantage of first and leverage first. In terms of getting along with the fellow council members, that's not always easy, as I'm sure you folks know yourselves. But you have to have an attitude of listening is often more important than talking. And personally, I've always been a team player. I've either led teams or been part of teams. So I'm familiar with that dynamic as well. And you just, like I say, listen and try to be reasonable and polite. You can't do much more than that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gray, you'll be first on this one.
What kind of programs or services do you believe would benefit the community that are not currently offered? And how might you approach identifying and securing funding for them?
Again, I think one of the things that Prescott Valley could benefit the most from is community togetherness and community pride. I know we have occasional softball tournaments, lots of youth sports that go on. Why not an adult baseball league? Things like that can get people out in the community, bonding together and socializing, where you start to identify more and more, again, outside of your square block that you're spending most of your time at, the other things going on around town, the people that need your help. And by bringing in businesses as sponsors, church services that, they're always wanting to help out the communities. By letting those things happen naturally, using the schools, the student councils. I don't see us utilizing them as much as we had in the past. The programs like Team Up to Clean Up, it's huge, but you don't see a lot of those organizations coming out. And I think that's something that the town would really benefit from in bringing people out and getting more people involved. And financially, if you've got business sponsors, you've got churches that are sponsoring or bringing their groups out to do those things, I feel like that bond that is created through those types of events is a benefit that's just immeasurable.
Ma'am. Ms. Lopez?
We do a really great job with a lot of our programs here with Prescott Valley. We do focus on a lot of arts and culture. Some of the things that I do see that we do miss are, we don't tell our story. We don't talk about how we got here. We don't talk about what this property used to be. We're missing the history, and with history comes pride. And like I said earlier, we have a strong volunteer spirit in our community. Some of the things that, since obviously affordable and obtainable housing is always a hot button, why aren't we partnering with banks to teach our children how to save money and how to learn to afford and obtain a home at an earlier age? It's not just a class in the classroom, it's a way of life. The biggest thing is you guys have a great staff and a great manager. I would probably go and talk to them and say, what do you feel as though is missing? And how can we look for the funding? I can go find money just about anywhere.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Evans?
Thank you. One of the things I would like to propose, and it would be cheap, which is also part of my business background, trying to do things most efficiently. And in answering this question, I represent one demographic. I'm a retired person, that moved here moved from California 6 years ago. So I think it's important to get more input from the citizenry. One example was the survey that was done a year ago this month. But I would actually establish citizen boards on various topic issues and maybe start with the survey results from the top ones down. They don't have to meet that frequently, maybe every other month. But that way you're ensuring that you're getting a good cross-section of input. You can carve it up both in terms of subject area like growth and development, water, traffic, whatever. You can also carve it up demographically, so you're getting a spread of input from all of your citizens, not just the noisiest ones. And I think that can be accomplished with minimum expense, and I really think for a maximum result in making council far more aware of exactly what people want and being able to balance that and provide the service that we're elected to do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kyle?
Yes, I'd like to see, I don't know if the colleges out here today have any training for trades. Not everybody can be a doctor or lawyer. And a lot of the younger generations would like to see maybe be a plumber, electrician, and so forth. I like to see that. And then the other thing too, down on 69 on the storefronts, on the facades, I mean, there's state grants and so forth that you can get to help clean those up and make them look a little more presentable. I would like to see that happen. And the funding, of course, like I said, is probably from state grants and so forth.
Thank you, sir. Next up, fourth question. Ms. Lopez, you'll be first. In what ways would you engage with residents to ensure their voices are heard? And how would you incorporate community input into your approach to policy making?
It's a very good question. In your town council meetings, you guys do have the open to the public, and you do hear the concerns of a good chunk of the community, but you are missing the other half. So we would have to engage them. How that looks, I'm not sure, because that's your working class people. So we would have to really dive into what that looks like and how we would get information out to them to be heard. And how would I incorporate that into my approach? One of my biggest challenges when I did the capital B bond for Humboldt Unified School District was the conversation of a swimming pool at Bradshaw Mountain High School. And I did a survey, and it was all color-coded. I knew what school each one of those pieces of paper came from, and it had to go in front of the school board. And we asked a lot of questions, and half of them wanted it and half of them did not. And it really did come down to who was going to pay for it. Goes back to fundraising. I would also tap into a lot of those particular individuals that in that particular situation wanted a pool and would maintain and fix that. I would tap into the resources that I have of people that would want to fix those things, and then make sure that every single person's voice was heard. I would make sure I listened and that I did everything that I could to make it work for them.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Evans.
Speaking on a personal commitment basis, if I were to be elected as a council member, I have a lot of time available to commit to that. Sadly or not, my one major commitment every day is just to feed and walk my dog Charlie. Beyond that, it's fairly flexible and open. So I would very much invite citizens to contact me if it's just to go to somebody's house and have coffee with 6 people. Like, what's bothering you today? What do you need? What do you think the town could be doing better for you? And that's fairly informal, and it's personal, and it's very retail, but it's something I would absolutely commit to do, and in fact would enjoy doing it. Additionally, the idea I had in the previous question about these citizen input boards, advisory boards, whatever you want to call them, we could, incorporate that as well. So some of it's personal, some of it's as a council as a whole. One of the things that I wondered about, especially on P&Z, and I understand being ardent and noisy, we were that on PV 540 4 years ago. But you wonder as you're sitting there making a decision, okay, I've got 30 people in a room or 50 people on a social media platform that are really ardent about something. How do I know about what the other 53,500 people think? So I think, what I've mentioned in terms of personal involvement, personal commitment, going to a lot of, whether it's functions, events, community groups, but personally drawing in that input. And I think those citizen boards would be something I would push to implement if I was fortunate enough to get your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kyle.
I would probably set up community meetings, like Granville and so forth with the residents, Stone Ridge, all the HOAs and so forth. And then after that, set them down and have community meetings, and they can explain what they need or what they don't want. And then I would ask if those communities could set up sessions of a committee to discuss among themselves and then come back and then meet with them again, but continue.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gray.
So all really good ideas. I think you have to get out there. You have to talk to people. You have to engage. And whether that's at HOA meetings, whether you have groups of citizens that come together and form a committee that you hear, them talk about things. Social media. Prescott Valley is very active in social media. I myself am not. So there's a lot of things happening that people that aren't active on social media don't know about. And I think we've become, as a society, more reliant on social media, and everybody having that access at their fingertips or wanting that access at their fingertips. We've put way too much weight on that. 1,000 people responded to the community survey that was strictly online. Why not put it in their mailboxes? Why not reach out to every citizen instead of just feeling reliant, being reliant on social media taking care of that for us? We have to get out there. We have to be the face of the community. We have to let people know, hey, here I am. Come talk to me. Don't just log in. Don't just put something there that somebody might read. Get out there. And as far as incorporating community input into policymaking, that's critical. Because if we're making policies that the community doesn't stand behind, they're not going to help. You have to have community support, and by incorporating what they want, whether this group wants this today, but this one wants that tomorrow, if you satisfy a need over here and then over here, you're pulling everyone together. You've shown that you're listening to everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Fifth question, Vice Mayor.
If it appeared that a clear majority of the general public felt one way on a particular issue, but you firmly believe the opposite action should be taken, which way would you vote and why?
First of all, I'd certainly analyze and consider why the consensus of the population was that way. Sometimes you see situations where something comes up or there's an issue where people jump to a conclusion and then fit facts or even fantasy to fit the conclusion they've already reached. My own approach is very, very different, and it's kind of like the old Dragnet Joe Friday, just the facts, ma'am, approach, and start with the analysis, identify the problem, and identify alternatives, and then come to a conclusion. That sounds a little roundabout answer to the question, but it's not. Because once you've done that, if I felt very, very strongly about something and the population was against it, I would, if I really was convinced that I was not right, but my point of view was probably more accurate, you try to convince them, whether it's on social media, presentations, whatever, make your case. If the populace still is totally opposite to my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. At the end of the day, I have to evaluate who's my boss. Who am I here to represent? My personal opinion, despite maybe trying to, engage in debate and understand why it is. If at the end of the day, the citizens of Prescott Valley want to go one way and I don't like that way, it's my job to support them and vote for that, even if I personally am against it.
Thank you, sir.
Kind of agree with Bruce, but there's a couple of things I want to add. You've got to sit down and make sure you got all the facts on a decision that's coming forward to the public. A lot of times the public doesn't have all the facts. They might be missing a small portion. And once you sit down with them, explain that to them and get that all across the board out on the table, and they still want to go one way. And I know, meeting with my colleagues and so forth, I would have to stick with my decision and vote no.
Thank you, sir.
So that is a tough one, because are they well educated? Are they well informed? And I've never been a strong believer in perception is reality. Your perception may be your reality, but it is not the reality of everyone. And generally what it is lacking when that occurs is information. If everyone is informed and a majority of the community says, hey, we want to go this way with this, and there is a fiscally responsible way to do it, and it benefits a majority of the community, whether or not I agreed with it, as one of 5 voices representing the community, it would be my responsibility to vote for what the majority wants. We're representing over 50,000 individuals, hopefully divided by 5, but if not, I'll talk to all of them. It's okay. But we have to listen. We have to make sure that we're informed on what they feel they need, and that they're informed on what the town can do for them in a fiscally responsible way with long-term benefits to everyone.
Ms. Lopez.
I'm going to have to agree with most of what has been said up here tonight. I thrive on research, so I would dig in and do my own research. I don't rely on what is written and or told. I agree with Jennifer on the perception. Perception is not necessarily reality. And I would ask a ton of questions, and I would talk about what I found, and I would be able to show the proof of where I found the information from, and let's have an educated conversation. Let's sit down and talk about it. One of my favorite books is The Art of the Deal. Nobody's always going to get everything that they want. There is a happy medium. And so we have to look for that happy medium. How would I vote? I would vote what was in the best interest of the town.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman? We're on number 6.
What additions or changes would you consider making to the town's current strategic plan? And how would those changes help move Prescott Valley forward?
Mr. Kyle?
I would, the current plan, whether it's a general plan or whatever, I consider it pretty much a living document based on what's happening in the economy and so forth and the country, because those things could change. That plan could change. So those changes to help move forward, you'd have to stay on top of that and look at what you're getting ready to approve or not to see if it's what the town wants, the people.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gray?
I confess I'm not well-versed in the strategic plan of 2035. I'm very excited about the things that have been talked about in the town council meetings, the plans that are currently being worked on, and those that we're going into moving forward. As far as the strategic plan, as Mr. Kyle said, it has to be a living, breathing document. We have to be ready to make changes as they become necessary. I'm kind of sad to see that affordable housing came at the bottom of the priorities on the survey that was taken, because I think it's much more important. And again, my bad, I should have looked at the strategic plan to see where the town feels that affordable housing really lies, despite the survey that took place. But I would hope that we can move it up in the priorities and help people understand the difference between affordable housing and low-income housing, being able to balance the cost of living in our community with the potential earnings of new families and retirees, so that we have a diverse demographic of citizens.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Lopez?
Every single strategic plan that I have ever read is a living, breathing document. I have never seen one that has been set in stone and that's it, that's all we're gonna do. And because of that, we have to adapt to what the world is adapting to. We have a problem with sustainable housing. We have a problem with transportation. But we have tools here in Yavapai County that we can help with those. So I do think that we need to look at the current strategic plan and adapt to those moving forward. And that comes down to communication and engagement with the community. I mean, we don't sit on the council without the community. They're the most important.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Evans?
I'm a firm believer if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm not saying our strategic plan or our general plan or anything like that is perfect. There's only one thing that's ever been perfect. But I think we're a very well-run town right now. We've got good leadership. We've had an exceptional staff over the last, especially 3 or 4 years, which is when I was able to observe it. It is a living, breathing document. We have to tweak it here and there, or if new circumstances develop where we have to be flexible and change it, that's fine. But I think we're on a very good path right now generally, tweaking here and there, but no epiphanies of new things that have to be changed or invented. I think we're doing a good job, and we just need to continue to be very diligent in making sure we maintain that quality of service to our citizens.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, that wraps up the set of questions.
Thank you, ma'am. And before we go into executive session, I just want to take a moment to address you all and just kind of express my sincere appreciation to the applicants that we have here in front of us. It's not easy what you guys did tonight. And I would like to thank every individual who stepped up throughout this whole process and demonstrated a genuine commitment to public service. And I truly believe that any one of you four, would make amazing council members. There's no doubt in my mind. And I just want to thank each of you for your willingness to serve and for putting yourselves out there for our community. So as we are going to leave and we're going to go into executive session and we're going to have some deliberations and talk about the pros and cons, I want to make it very clear that whether or not the individual ultimately selected is the name that I put on the piece of paper and I hand to the clerk, I fully trust and respect the majority decision of this council. So once that vote is taken, I will vote to confirm the new appointee, whether they are my first choice or whether they are my last choice. And I hope each of my fellow council members, as well as the residents in this room and the residents of Prescott Valley, can also share in that same thought process, that the new appointed council members should be given an opportunity to show how much they love Prescott Valley and be a welcome team member and not feel shunned because they may or may not have been a fellow colleague or a resident's favorite choice. So my focus, as well, all of us should remain on a few things: unity, collaboration, and our shared responsibility to continue to make Prescott Valley that great place to live, to grow up, and to retire. So with that being said, folks, council, I ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to convene into executive session for discussion and evaluation of the interviewees for appointment to fill a current town council vacancy. The executive session is scheduled pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute, Section 38-431.
I second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Greer? Thank you. That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you. Folks, we'll be back. I can't promise when we'll be back, but we will be back. I can promise that. Anyone was questioning, there will be no smoke being released from the top of Town Hall to indicate that we have selected someone. Oh, I'm sorry, and we're back from executive session. I feel like it got colder in here. Is that possible or no? Temperature got a little lower?
Mr. Mayor, we do not have a consensus. We got to do it again.
Thank you, ma'am. No, we're staying. We'll just hand out new paper. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, the majority goes to Kimberly Lopez.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I get a motion to approve Kimberly Lopez to the town council for appointment?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Kimberly Lopez as a town council member to fill a current vacancy until the next regularly scheduled council election in 2026 pursuant to ARS 9-235 by electronic vote.
I second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Mayor, that passes.
Thank you, ma'am. And again, I appreciate you guys all did an amazing job. You should be very proud. You should hold your head high. And I hope to see you all again here doing good things for the town of Prescott Valley. So folks, can we give these men and women a round of applause, please? Thanks for coming out, everyone. Meeting's adjourned.